A few days ago I was wondering how straightforward it would be to put together a straightforward, basic, but nonetheless useful web server framework. I found trying to do things with the likes of Apache or LightTTPD required a brain transplant, and they were really pretty big, heavyweight, large animals. They're used on very, very large websites, which is clearly not the sort of thing you're going to be doing to run a little web server, and I'm really aiming at running it on Raspberry Pis. So here is a very small web server, just a few hundred lines of Python that more than happily serves up web pages and can live stream data back from the server to the web browser, so you can do nice things with the live data. Here's the little Raspberry Pi Zero. It's got pretensions to be a robot when it grows up, but at the moment I'm just using it as a nice little place to test out and see how lightweight and how low resource usage I can get to do this sort of thing. So here we are, already logged in on SSH to the Raspberry Pi Zero over Wi-Fi from both the laptop and the Raspberry Pi Zero, and we're in the right folder. So all we need to do to run this interactively is run Python 3 with the right file, and here it is telling us exactly what the URL is to access this website. So we'll just pop up a web browser, we'll stick in that URL, and there we have the web page. It's got a couple of live streaming graphs on it. One of them is showing us the CPU temperature, and the other one is showing us the CPU load. Starting up the web server obviously exercised it quite a bit, but once it's all up and running, it's trickling along there at a fairly low utilization. I've already got PyGPIO running as a daemon on the Raspberry Pi Zero, so it's putting in a base load of probably something like 7 to 10%. Even although it's not actually doing anything useful for this right now. So let's make the Raspberry Pi Zero work a little bit harder. So here's another session we've got running on the Pi Zero, SSH again. Let's just do something that will make it work for its living. And there we go. The green line is the instantaneous, over the last second or so, CPU utilization, and the red line is a sort of rather badly smoothed version of that, so that you can get a nice consistent reading out when you're trying to check how much CPU you're using doing something or other. This won't run for very long. It exercises it quite successfully though, and there we are, we've done it. You can see the temperature came up here a little bit. Pi Zeros don't get very warm at all really, and now that this has come back down, the temperature is likewise dropping back down again. So the graphs of JavaScript in the web browser, the web server's streaming the live data, and it's all sitting in a little GitHub repository I have here. If you want to have a play with it, you're more than welcome to have a look and see what's going on. Here we go, this is the very one. So, we've really just got the web server software, which is all of 150 lines of Python, some utilities which do a lot more than I'm using here, but they grab things like the CPU temperature and the utilization for the web server, and a very small config file that defines the various pages that can be asked for and what to do about them. And then a static folder here which has got the fair small number of fixed files in it. It's got the overall web page. It's got a CSS file to do this little sort of dark theme that I'm using, an icon file, and it's using Smoothie.js, which Smoothie is a really nice little library specifically designed for streaming live data in this sort of way. It's so much nicer, more straightforward and compact than many of the giant JavaScript drawing packages, which can do some fantastic graphs, but for this sort of thing, making them do live data can be really hard work, and a lot of them also demand that you pull down the JavaScript from the live web server. And since I wanted to be able to run this on a freestanding isolated network with no internet access, Smoothie.js was just the ideal answer. As far as I'm concerned, it's a little gem of a piece of software. So, if you want to have a go, here's the URL. Let me just make that a wee bit bigger. You can see the whole thing. But it's on GitHub, and my name is Pootle on GitHub, and there's a number of repositories, but this is the one. PyPI Web Serve is the one you want that has all of this in it. So enjoy.